This is my presentation on Diane Arbus. She is one of the photographers I took a look at. A little bit about Diane. She was born March 14th, 1923 in New York City. She died again in New York City at the age of 48, July 26, 1971. Diane Neverov was her birth name. Her most famous works were on outsiders, such as strippers, nudists, dwarves, and transgender people. She had photos put in magazines in the early 60s in Esquire and Harper's Bazaar, and Arbus did die from suicide. Taking a look at one of her pictures she's taken, we start with the child with toy hand grenade, and really looking at this, it's extremely unsettling when you first look at it and you don't know the background on that it's a hand grenade that's a toy. It looks pretty legitimate from the picture. This was taken in Central Park in New York City. The boy's name was Colin Wood, son of tennis player Sidney Wood, a little bit of an interesting fact, taken in 1962. But just looking at this is extremely unsettling, just how the kid has a toy grenade. Looks pretty legitimate in the picture. This one's identical twins taken in Roselle, New Jersey. The kids in the photo are Kathleen and Colleen Wade. And first thing at this is they're every bit of the word identical. You know, you see twins from sometimes that aren't necessarily identical, but you cut that picture in half and they look the exact same. It's an interesting one because she does a good job of having them lined up so it looks like if you flip the picture and put it in a mirror, it looks like it's that kind of picture. Does a good job of how she aligns the picture. Really, everything about that picture is well done. Taking a look. This one's called an Untitled, and this goes back to the outsiders look, and definitely, you walk up on a scene like this, you're not going to be feeling very safe, per se. This picture taken in 1970 to 71. But boy, this is something that's another one of those scenes that it'd be a bit eerie to walk up on something like this. Just a bit of an odd scene overall. This one does a nice job of showing the light shining right through. Again, going to talk about vector here, where it's top to bottom of this, a nice straight line shot. This was entitled the 42nd Street Movie Theater Audience on artsy.net. An interesting stat going along with this is a $20,000 to $30,000 picture. Just does a nice job showing the vector in this one. And here is one that I'm not entirely sure how this falls into the category of bizarre, but here it is. This is a Blaze star in her living room in Baltimore, Maryland, 1964. Good shot of Blaze. You see her dog there. Just really interesting looking at the different couch and carpeting for the time period as this was shot in the 60s. And this goes back to that strange and unusual side that she would shoot. This is Jack Dracula at a bar, shot in San Francisco, California, 1961. That is a lot of tattoos. First look at this. That is the honest reaction. That is a lot of tattoos. You see cigarettes down there too. But boy, a lot of tattoos. Definitely fits in that interesting category that she seems to like to take pictures in. Another one with a celebrity person in their living room. This one's Penelope Tree, shot in 1962 in New York City. Does a nice job showing the wealth in this picture. You can see the chandelier straight behind her, the couch. Just a lot of stuff in the room. Does a nice job of portraying all of that. And then this one kind of gets back to that oddity, an elderly woman whispering to her dinner partner. Could be her husband, could be a secret lover, I guess you could say. Could be having an affair. They were shot in the New York City Grand Ballroom, 1959. Just interesting, trying to put together why this picture was taken. Could be from a lot of different angles. You see her wealth again with all the pearls around her neck, and he is in a tuxedo. And then we get into the nudist side of things here with a young waitress at a nudist camp taken in New Jersey. So this one's pretty self-explanatory. In modern day, this is kind of a shocking photo to look at. But, once you start looking into Arbus a little bit, this isn't really out of the realm of possibility of something she would shoot. So just an interesting photo. It is interesting, being at that nudist camp. As for me, I'm not necessarily one for walking around barefoot. Looks like it had either rained or some kind of precipitation had fallen. So sticking to the code, I guess, is the young waitress in this one. And then you get to the other side, a giant taken in the Bronx, 1970. It's Eddie Carmel. He's also Jewish. This just is an interesting picture because looking at the woman looking up at him kind of defines what a lot of people in that situation would be doing. Grant being Eddie Carmel rather, being tall. Just interesting seeing the perspective between the two, the people to Eddie Carmel rather, himself. And then the sword swallower. This is something that makes a lot of people cringe. This was a carnival in Maryland, 1970. And then, kind of getting to the carnival is an outsider type thing where, sword swallowing, not something you normally see. And right there, just my personal reaction to this is an immediate cringe just because swallowing swords. So that one's that. Castle of Disney, I just like the lighting on this one. Really dark and dim. And if you look towards that bottom right corner of it, you see fog in this. So it is an interesting shot. This is Disneyland in California, 1962. And in conclusion, Arbus does a great job of highlighting outsiders, and outsiders themselves are what make the pictures interesting, going back to the nudist one. Not something you're going to see a lot of artists take the time and photograph. Thank you for listening. This has been the Arbus photography presentation.